Which one's which?
Actually, but Lalo's not joking. The Anglo media here in Southern California always mistakes the both of us. He's been congratulated for his Ask a Mexican column, and I've been congratulated for my award-winning political cartoons.
And then recently on Facebook, there was a photo shop thing I did for Pocho.com, and people were very offended by it. I'm going to show it tonight. And I said, "Nice work, Gustavo."
And then people started yelling at me.
Yeah, it was great. Finally.
Yeah, because I never get yelled at. Anyways, we're both very happy to be here. The format, there's not going to be a format actually. We're going to just have a conversation amongst, we're the biggest pimps of each other's work, or supporters, I guess. Pimp is not politically correct. But we're the biggest supporters of each other's work, so our goal tonight is to make sure you buy as much of what we produce as possible. So
it's hard out here being a supporter.
Yes, absolutely. So really briefly, my name is Gustavo Arellano. I am the editor of the OC Weekly. I write a column called Ask a Mexican. I used to have a show on KPFK 90.7 FM. I might actually have one again very soon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's a rumor. That's a rumor. I'm supposed to come back without a $3 million grant.
Oh yeah, that's the whole story about KPCC, but that's...
A lot of...
Should we diss other radio stations here?
Maybe, anyway. So I do a column called Ask a Mexican. It's exactly what it sounds like. People send me questions about Mexicans, and I answer them. And the purpose of the column is to debunk and deconstruct stereotypes and misconceptions about Mexicans. That's usually a whole lecture that I do on its own, but I guess today I'm supposed to split between that and Taco USA, which is my latest book.
Yeah, well, can I just say something about that is, we use stereotypes to battle stereotypes. Now, sometimes that, I think, the biggest compliment I could get is Lalo knows his gig. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know sometimes, I think, some of the general public, can be like maybe, a little irony deficient, or their reading comprehension has not risen since the 7th grade, and that's a problem. And people react like to the first thing they see. And so I know that, before the show began, we were comparing haters that we have, and I told them we could go on the road and tell hater stories all day long, and people would love it, because I like to publish my hate mail on Facebook and just have people react to it. But the thing is that, I see sometimes people have a visceral reaction to Gustavo, to his column, without really thinking deeply that he's actually trying to do something. And you can say the same thing about me. People, before La Cucaracha came out, I had haters. I had this one hater in Arizona that was calling newspapers before my strip came out, saying, "You better not run La Cucaracha because it's a strip about cockroaches." Like, dude, no it's not. I went on CNN and I said, Charles Schultz never ever had to answer the question, are you saying that all little white kids are peanuts? It's like La Cucaracha is the name, of the strip. Give us some damn credit, for having some sort of, literature in mind, or a literary attitude to our work.
Yeah, so we're both satirists, at least, myself in my Ask a Mexican column vein, and Lalo and La Cucaracha. On my end also, what people usually don't realize about what I do, I'm also an investigative reporter with some pretty good stories over the years. I've gone after the pedophiles over at the Diocese of Orange. A lot of pedophile priests down there in Orange County. I've also gone against white supremacists. I think the best story I ever did in history was I wrote a story about 4 white supremacists who went into the barrio in Huntington Beach, like the one barrio in Huntington Beach. The rest of the city's all surfers and skinheads, of course. So I do this story about 4 skinheads going into the barrio in Huntington Beach because they want to kill a Mexican. It's they explicitly stated that. But what happens when you're 4 skinheads in a barrio at midnight? Yeah, they got their asses kicked. The greatest story, actually, it was the 2nd greatest story in Orange County history. The greatest story in Orange County history just happened recently with the protests over the killings of those one unarmed Latino in Anaheim, where there was riots happening on the streets of Anaheim, and then all of a sudden the Disneyland fireworks start blowing up. You gotta do a cartoon about that.
Well, I did a shirt about it.
He did a shirt about it. But, you know, but what Lalo's gonna do then, he's gonna talk a little bit about himself, show some of his amazing slides, and then I'll do a little spiel. Then we want to get to any questions you folks may have about it. So,
do we have any slides? I don't see nothing.
Well, maybe you want to start off with who you are.
I'm the guy staring at the blank screen. All right, I will talk while the techies get the slide on the thing. So, all right, who am I? I grew up in San Diego. I'm an exile refugee from San Diego. My parents are from Sinaloa and Zacatecas.
Same part of Zacatecas where I'm from.
Oh yes. Our dads are from the same little town in Zacatecas, Jerez, as are, actually, I love the way Gustavo called it the ZOG, the Zacatecas Occupational Government, you know, instead of the Zionist Occupational Government. It's me, him, my friend Lalo Medina, who was like the road manager for the White Stripes and for Ozamali and all these bands. And then Jose Huizar, the city councilman in LA also, and probably 1,000 other guys that we don't know.
Yeah, and Jessica Alba's my third cousin once removed. True story. Somebody just, you know, said, hey, I think we're cousins, so we shared genealogies, and there's Jessica Alba's, oh gosh, what was it? His great-great-grandpa and my great-great-great-grandpa were brothers or something like that. But yeah, no, Zacatecanos, we rule Southern California. Zog. But anyways.
Birria rules too. Excuse me. So I went to San Diego State for undergraduate. I went to UC Berkeley for grad school in architecture, and up there started performing, doing comedy, and realized that I wanted to be an artist. It runs in my family.
You know, back in the days it was white folks gentrifying Mexicans. Now it's Mexicans gentrifying Mexicans. So that's progress, right? That's and so, you know, when I became a reporter, that was one, you know, I was the only minority on staff, so not only was I the token Mexican, I was a token Muslim, I was a token Vietnamese. I couldn't be the token black guy because we don't have any African Americans in Orange County. Couldn't do that. So quickly I realized, well, you know, there's a big problem with misconceptions and stereotypes that people have about Mexicans, so I started to cover it as a reporter for the OC Weekly. Eventually in 2004, my editor, he gave me this idea for a column, Ask a Mexican, after he saw a billboard of El Piolín, you know, the Spanish language DJ, except he didn't know it was El Piolín, he called him Piolín. Yeah, Piolín in that case. And so he was nice enough to say, you know, there's a lot of stupid white people like myself, but we're not racist. And he wasn't racist at all, you know, he was just ignorant. So why don't you do a column? Why don't you do a column where people send you questions about, or it's a satirical piece where people send you questions about Mexicans and you answer them, and we'll call the column Ask a Mexican. At first I didn't want to do it just because I didn't think people were going to be interested in the column, but we ran it, and you know, it's been a smash ever since, or infamous at the very least. And the connection with Lalo is, if you know Ask a Mexican, you'll know the little logo. It's a caricature. It's a bandito caricature of big fat Mexican guy with a mustache, sombrero, the gold tooth, leering grin. His cousin's known to sleep underneath cactuses at Mexican restaurants. Lalo was actually supposed to draw that. Lalo was supposed to draw that image. What happened was, and you might remember this, we had a Cinco de Mayo issue. It was called the Why We Hate Mexicans issue. And, you know, and it was supposed to be an issue devoted to the history of Mexican hating in Orange County. It wasn't us, the OC Weekly, hate Mexicans. It's us, Orange County, we hate Mexicans. So, you know, it was some serious stories. It was like, the lead story was about the last lynching in Orange County, which happened to be a Mexican man. We had undocumented kids writing about how they got snuck over across the border. I did a story about the top 10 Mexican hating songs of all time. Like, you know, Jay and the Americans, Come a Little Bit Closer. You know that song. Or Pat Boone singing Speedy Gonzales, and, you know, all, you know, many, many songs. So the cover we said, okay, since this is a Why We Hate Mexicans issue, it has to be an illustration. Let's do the most stereotypical Mexican imaginable. So I told my editor, I know the perfect person to do it, Lalo Alcaraz, this amazing guy. My editor said, oh yeah, I know Lalo stuff. And for whatever reason, he didn't choose
I wasn't Mexican enough, so he hired a white guy.
That's exactly what happened. So I'm sorry, Lalo, you could have had all the royalties for that.
He looked at, what was it? He's like, oh, gee, I don't know. Looked at my stuff.
Do you still have that original sketch?
I don't know.
It'd be wonderful to see.
Crap, man.
But so, anyways, that's the connection to Ask a Mexican. Yeah, so I've been doing that column ever since. But let's turn it over to Lalo because I want to get entertained.
I'm still bitter about that. Thanks for reminding me. This is an old cartoon I had from Rehydrated Lunch Again? Chill, I know a good spot around here. This is just, I whipped it up as a tribute to the space shuttle.
The funny story about that is, and sorry to interrupt, this goes perfect for my book. Actually, the most popular food stuff for astronauts is tortillas. Not kidding, it's absolutely true. Astronauts love tortillas because, you know, the tortillas, God's perfect.
They can throw them around?
Not only that, no, that's Arizona State students, University of Arizona. No, not only that, but tortillas, of course, are the perfect vessel for anything. And bread breaks up into crumbs, so they get into the instruments. Tortillas are indestructible. So my book, it starts with the creation of space burritos. Basically, there was a launch, you know, one of the Endeavor's flights up there. It was the first time ever that two Latinos were in outer space at the same time. So what ended up happening, their white crewmates asked them, can you make burritos for us? True story. They made these burritos, and actually it turns out that space tacos and space burritos have been made since the 1980s for these flights.
Wow.
Absolutely true story.
What was the filling, like tang?
No. It was dehydrated pork sausage, dehydrated eggs, and they even had dehydrated salsa.
Yeah.
Supposedly it wasn't that bad, although you're not going to have me try it. Anyways.
Sounds like a cruda cure. You know. This is...
I'm not going to say it.
Taco Cart Guy is the most popular guy. This is from La Cucaracha. Taco Cart Guy is the most popular guy in my comic strip, and he hardly even talks. But it's because everyone loves tacos and taqueros. So
what was the inspiration for you to do Taco Guy?
The name comes from Comic Book Guy in The Simpsons. But the guy was, I just wanted to have a street vendor in the strip, and he turned out to be like a very mysterious kind of like stone face, you know, guy that has, you know, like signs behind him, and he hardly ever talks. So people like are like, oh, I mean, I could change the name of the strip to Taco Cart Guy, and people would be like, oh my God, it's the #1 strip.
A spin-off.
Yeah. Let's see. This has not come out yet. It says, repent, bad art restorers. And you guys know this is the Beast Jesus art restoration from Spain, right?
The abuelita.
The abuelita that, yeah, she's getting around. But she actually went to La Basilica in Mexico City, and she looked at the painting of or the image of the Virgen and did a restoration on it. And it was, she goes, now it looks like Jesus. And all the way. I mean, she was serious. It's really, and she wants the royalties too. Sure. Here is. Further words. Actually, my daughter Paloma, when she was like, I don't know, 3, she won 2nd place at the Whittier Community Center Halloween costume contest for being Dora, because she worshipped Dora as a god, and so we just dressed her up like her. She looks exactly the same color, everything. So, and then she grew up. You know. Here's Mitt Romney. This combines 2 issues that Mitt Romney kind of painting his face for the Univision interview he did, and then also, or town hall, and then also his comment of how things would be so much easier if he was actually Latino, you know, because we know we get ahead in life.
It's easy being Mexican.
Totally. So he's, and here's, I just drew this today, last night.
I like how Obama's gonna go do a dunk in the...
Yeah, Obama's way downfield. And here's Obama and empty chair that says Osama bin Laden. And I quote, right here I write, bitten from Chris Rock, because Chris Rock actually tweeted this as a joke, and I said, I'm gonna draw that, I drew it. So I don't like to. I don't want him to think that I stole it from him, so
You're not Carlos Mencia.
No. Get off my lawn, Obama. Clint Eastwood. To avenge the attacks on our embassies, the USA should immediately bomb England. That's Ronnie's foreign policy. This was a strip I did. It came out in the Cucaracha strip. Just like a calm, solemn 9/11 tribute, 11 years of 9/11. Here's Mitt Romney. Silent vigil. Here's a cartoon I did a year after 9/11, explaining the roots behind 9/11. Here's my twin teepees, never forget, you know, I did this in the year after 9/11, after all the fervor, and just to say, you know, there's more, there's been bigger, I mean, I'm not disclaiming what happened on 9/11, but there are other genocides,
other
tragedies that are huge or huger that have happened on American soil. Self-deport, self-abort, we're the party of self-reliance. Here's Bill Clinton at the convention. Here's Chris Christie talking, and Mitt Romney's way down there. Don't forget to mention my name, Chris. Here's this guy's running around. It's not easy being a GOP convention minority seat filler.
Did you hear that they're calling him Gilligan now?
Gilligan, yeah.
Yeah.
I like Eddie. Here he is scaring Viejita. Here's Mitt Romney's money, vacationing. And I'm going to get into... this is a cartoon that kind of melted all these things together in my life.
Created a phenomenon.
Yeah, it's Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney's you know, I wish I was Latino comment, and then Mexican Mitt Romney, a personality on Twitter that I am 100% behind as supporter. He is, you can follow him. He is the 1%, by the way. You can follow him at Mexican Mitt. And he was named by Politico as, in the top 10, as #1 top funniest political parodies on Twitter, fake accounts. You wanted to ask me, you asked me earlier, the night of Mitt Romney's debate, his speech at the RNC, the Mexican Mitt Romney account was mysteriously suspended. The same night that Mitt Romney's campaign had spent about
$250,000 actually.
Really, it was $250,000 on Twitter to buy a column on Twitter, a sponsored topic, and so mysteriously Mexican Mitt was yanked. He lost all his followers, but he got them back over the course of the night, and now has an additional 4,000 followers. And now he's like putting out new campaign posters.
Facebook.
On Facebook, yeah. And there's no shortage of pictures on the internet of drunken white people with sombreros. You will never run out. This is one actually a fan made with all the pictures, and then I made a poster out of it, American Exceptionalism. And then you can interrupt at any time because I
guess I can talk about myself at some point, right?
Yeah, sure. You can.
Wait, what's that one?
This is Secret Service in Colombia. Right. You know, Colombia, we're not just known for drugs anymore. Secret Service prostitution scandal. Let me get to a good point. Dolores Huerta. Yay, let's applaud Dolores Huerta. We talk about is that a good jumping point for DreamHack students?
Well, DreamHack students is something that both of us have been very strong advocates for. Of course, we know what the DREAM Act is. The DREAM Act is a piece of legislation that's been around in Congress for about a decade that would provide a path to citizenship for undocumented college students or people, basically folks who spent their entire life here in the United States, grew up here, their culture is American, yet they were born in another country and their parents brought them across the border illegally. So, you know, for myself, it's an important issue because my dad was an illegal immigrant. He came to this country in the trunk of a Chevy in 1968 from Tijuana up to Chinatown, Los Angeles, and that was the first time he came here illegally. Another time he hopped the fence, another time he dug a hole underneath the fence, another time he cut a hole through the fence. The easiest one was when there was no fence, so he just walked across the desert. That's so easy to do.
My mom also immigrated to, and dad, to Tijuana. She would tell me, I mean, there was no border, there was a grass field, there was a booth with a guy over there, and then you could walk over here. And, you know, despite the big fence, the tracking, whatever, it's the same conditions because that was existing, the open border there, because America needs, the U.S. needs cheap labor, and it still does, you know. And so all this talk about high-tech surveillance fences, it's all BS. The people are still here, still coming, even if it's net zero immigration, whatever. The U.S. looks the other way, and that's why there's no immigration legislation. It's going to be painful, you know. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and so with topics like these are serious topics, but obviously the both of us, we tackle them through our, through the vein of satire in my column. So he does it through artistry and also through the Butch Hour Power, which you have to listen to every Friday at 4 p.m. on KPFK. And myself, through my column, obviously, I take the questions that people ask me, literally any question you can possibly imagine, questions about immigration, questions about sex, questions about tomatoes, questions about midgets. Any question people have, I'll answer them, and I'll give the honest response. Sometimes, for instance, people will try to get me the way people ask me questions, sometimes they really just want to know something. Like, they want to know, why does so much Mexican music sound like German music? A bunch of oompa music and accordion, waltzes and polkas. And that's a simple answer. All you have to do is go to history and show that there was German immigrants in Mexico, mid-19th century. You had a bunch of German, Czech, and Polish immigration to the borderlands that created Tex-Mex music. And then other questions, they're just going to be silly. One time somebody asked me, why are Mexicans always so damn happy? Always see them laughing. They could be working 95 degrees out in the field and they're laughing, they're cracking jokes at each other, double entendres and so much. And so questions like that, that's not really racist. A response like that is, of course, we're the happiest people on earth. What is there to be sad about? We have a country that depends on us for cheap labor, or just labor, period, and yet always wants to deport us. We're the largest minority here in the United States, and yet our voting power is abysmal, of course we're going to be happy all the time. Yeah.
I always say also, I mean, why are there not more Mexican satirists? I mean, in Mexico, like, everybody's a satirist. And then we come here and people lose their sense of humor, like, I mean, I can't tell you how many times people don't get the simplest joke or get offended by the dumbest thing. But, I mean, I tell people we're Mexican, the Mexican way of life is to laugh at dark tragedy all day long, because that's what they live with in Mexico all day long, and you might as well laugh, better laugh than cry.
Yeah, it's gallows humor, exactly. Exactly, and more importantly, at least for me, satire is one of the most powerful tools to fight against haters, to fight against racism, and we're the largest minority here in the United States, again, our voting power is abysmal, and it's easy for me to be an idiot all the time. But you do that, and so you can make a bigger point that you reach that point, fine line, if you reach that point, the outcome's going to be much more powerful than.
And then you come here, and people
think of some of the great political minds,
I can't tell you how many times
the great satirists of the past, of the past and present. Nowadays, Stephen Colbert, Jon Stewart. In the past, Jonathan Swift, Mark Twain. These are men who, they're hilarious as hell, but we never considered them to be comedians because they were more than comedians. And when they made their points, they were absolutely brilliant. When you had Jonathan Swift in The Modest Proposal talking about eating Irish babies to end the Great Famine, in a way he was joking, but also in another way he was being deadly serious. So similarly, in my experience, when I do my column, that's what I do. The whole point of the column is to show people, really, Mexicans, or the way I tell it to American audience is, as a member of the invading army, I'm here to tell you it's going to be okay. It's going to be perfectly fine. We are going to probably become even more American than you, and that's a tragedy, but that's the beauty of the American experience. Lalo has, in one of his posters, which I'm sure you have there, the Not Another Latino Movie one, with the conservative older Tio, and we all have that Tio who, served in the surf, who probably grew up speaking Spanish, now, has a nice house, probably in Montebello, votes Republican, hates the gays, hates other Mexicans, and those Mexicans, they're not like the Mexicans we were, those, Chilangos and Michoacanos and Oaxaqueños. That's assimilation in this country. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. So that's what I try to point out in my column, doing that, that method of satire. And of course, intelligent minds can always disagree as to the approach. People are not always going to get what we're doing, but there's one audience that we both share that is uniformly gets the column and Lalo's work, and those are actual racists. We don't have no racist fans. We do not have a single racist fan. People tell me, well, people might use your column to justify their own racism. And I tell them, the next racist who likes my column, he's going to be the first guy. He really is. They see right through our satire, and they see exactly what we're for. A bunch of crazy Chicanos raising desmadre toward them.
They don't like that.
Yeah, they don't like that at all. They don't like that at all.
I don't know, I wouldn't call them fans, but they're among my most ardent followers. They know exactly what I'm doing. They write me hate letters every day and tell me, this strip is a blah, blah. The funniest is they'll say, you are such a racist, and you know what, it's because you love that half-black Obama. And then they talk about another 2 paragraphs about race. And I'm like, dude, you're racist. You're a little obsessed with race.
But you're the racist for always writing about Mexicans.
Yeah, that's right. I'm narrow-minded.
Seriously, that's the theory about it. So that's my Ask a Mexican column. But then with Taco USA, doing my column, of course, I get all sorts of questions about all sorts of topics, and one of the most popular topics, of course, is Mexican food, because Americans, they might not like us Mexicans, but they sure love our food in one way or another. So the book itself is just a history of Mexican food all through the United States. Only in the United States, not in Mexico. Whittier gets a shout out with Arturo Puffy Taco, because the Puffy Taco is a brilliant thing that can only be found in 2 places in the United States, San Antonio and Whittier, of all places. I never figured that one out. Have you ever been there?
I've been to the one in San Antonio. I guess I was pretty drunk.
The puppy taco is a brilliant thing. But anyways, with Mexican food, that's the one language all of Americans speak, Mexican food. Even racists love Mexican food. When I did my story about the skinheads who got beat up by the Mexicans, I did all sorts of scoping, and so a source gave me all these pictures. So I'm going through the pictures, and I stop on one, and it's these two guys. They have a swastika tattooed right here, your 8816 or 8814, lightning bolts, all of that, SS right there. And they're posing with burritos at a Del Taco. Absolutely true story. Jim Gilchrist, the founder of the Minutemen Project, his favorite restaurant, El Torito. Lots of taquitos. So why are we so obsessed with Mexican food? Obviously because it's good. That's an easy answer. But as you'll see in my book, Mexican food, it's been coming to this country for over 125 years. Americans have been obsessed with Mexican food that long. It didn't start with Taco Bell. It started way before with tamales, with chile con carne, which we now know chili. In fact, Americans are so desperate for Mexican food that for decades there was a multi-million-dollar industry called tortillas in a can. People would actually eat tortillas from a can. Some of you may remember that. Others are like, what the hell? I still want to eat tortillas in a can, and actually they're extinct now. No, there's only one producer, and I don't know why Montebello is getting so much attention today. But the last producer that I was able to find of tortillas in a can is based in Montebello, and it's for survivalist stuff, like end times.
For Aryan Nation.
Yeah, for Aryan Nation style. Yeah, so that's what my book deals with, and that book, you're going to get a little bit of my attempts at humor, but that's more a straightforward history. Although, I do the same with Ask a Mexican. History is probably one of my favorite topics. But when it comes to food, you're going to get a lot of history. But the humor, probably the funniest thing is my fight with Rick Bayless. That was pretty funny.
Oh, you guys know Rick Bayless is the chef or whatever? I didn't know who he was until I saw Gustavo sniping at him. And then recently, when he was awarded the Aztec Order of the Eagle by the Mexican government, right? And it's weird, and it goes on. And so I tweeted a bunch of funny tweets about it, and how ridiculous that is. And Santino from SJ from Pocho.com, one of our writers in Florida, I mean, he's just brutalizing this guy. And and Santino's like, oh yeah, he's great at, people were defending him. Oh, he treats his Mexicans so good. I got an email like that. He treats his Mexicans so good, and people like his staff, loves him, whatever. And he said, SJ goes, oh yeah, and he's also really good at ripping off recipes from indigenous Oaxacan communities and making millions of dollars off of it, And so, whatever, we can argue about that stuff. I'm not that hip on the food thing. Then a week later, the Kennedy Center honors thing pops up, where that no Latinos, only 2 Latinos in 35 years have been honored by the Kennedy Center honors, which is the yearly program they have on TV with the president goes. It's a state function, and it's the Kennedy Center in D.C. And they've honored Chita Rivera and Placido Domingo in 35 years. And the list just came out September 12th, no Latinos on it. Led Zeppelin's on it. They'll honor, they were like, can we find anybody that's not Latino at this point to honor, okay, Led Zeppelin's up, great. And so the director of the Kennedy Center yelled all over the phone to Felix Sanchez, the director of the National Hispanic Foundation for the Arts, and told him, after he told him, hey, what's up with this, he did it again, and Michael Kaiser, the director of it, told Felix Sanchez, go F yourself, and slammed the phone down, and that guy, Michael Kaiser, has also the Aztec Order of the Eagle Award, awarded to him in 2008, I think.
Yeah.
And I go, wow, if this is what Mexico considers to be Aztec warriors, no wonder the Spanish came and kicked their ass so easily. So it is really weird how stuff works itself out like that. I don't know what the criteria is for getting the Aztec Order of the Eagle, but
probably, no, I'm not going to make a joke of that. I was going to make a Brie joke, although it's a Brie joke that explains itself. The Brie is a bunch of, yeah.
Dinosaurios, but
anyways.
I would rather have a ceramic Bart Simpson from Tijuana.
He would lead better than Peña Nieto, absolutely. Has more brains.
For sure.
Anyways, we could go on and on, but we want to get to any questions you folks may have at this point in the
Did you get the high sign for that, or what?
Oh no, I just saw
I
the
got more
time.
slides, man. Believe me.
That was a great one.
Yeah, this was my Occupy cartoon. I turned into a poster, and it's going to be in a lot. It's in a lot of textbooks now. It's going to be coming in a lot of textbooks. This is my also my most popular one. Arizona's been really good to me. This is, ignore the little D thing in the middle, but I put this on my Facebook page, and it's a border crossing sign, and it said, somebody said, man, I love that cartoon, man. Why do you have 3 pregnant punk rockers running? Then I put this on my Facebook page, and people are like, congratulations, getting Jan Brewer to stand in front of your sign. I go, there's this thing called Photoshop. Have you ever heard of it?
I like how you angled it. It was a perfect angle.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I'm a Photoshop master, man. I'll take that compliment. And then Jan Brewer, you know, she poked her finger at Obama, and then I did this cartoon. And then I get a lot of heat for making fun of Jan Brewer. See, there's no intelligent life on Mars, but I'm bummed. Here she was trying to reconnect with her friends in Guanajuato. I did this in 2008, and the New Yorker maybe saw it. I don't know. It might be an obvious idea. I did this in 2008 also with the my Viva Obama poster. Oops, Viva Obama? Wait. Okay, never mind. Did that. There it is. It was really super popular. The president has one finally. The campaign didn't want to use it because it showed a black man holding a gun. And then I'll wrap this up, and then we'll do the questions.
Yeah.
I did a series of 2008, the Voteria, and showed a bunch of characters spoof on the Loteria cards. And my favorite was El Ex Borracho, George Bush. And I think actually this was the 2004 election. But I recently updated, and I did the Voteria for this election. And it says, our elections are now such a gamble, they might as well be a Mexican game of chance. And has a Tea Party. La First Lady. Big. El Presidente. And he's got the, I just kept the bloody knife. You know. El Middle Class. And then El Bin Laden. And then I did the Republican version also. It's like bingo gringo, just in case you're not clear on it. And then it has El Mitt Romney's El Catrín. He doesn't smoke though, he's Mormon. So La Ann Romney. Our current big article is Mitt Romney's secret trip to Miami. And here he is. These are by my friend Victor Payan. That's some very candid shots of saying hello to my little friend. And
that's the worst Photoshop job.
I know. It's an action shot. But this next one's pretty good. And so, you know, and then finally, people ask people are sad that Mexican Mitt Romney, well, Mitt Romney's going to lose the election. They asked Mexican Mitt on Twitter, are we going to be so sad if you leave? Please don't leave us after the election, and I'm like, well, I think a Mexican Mitt is going to try a new thing, American Mitt. See if that goes. Oh, my daughter does baton too. Let's see.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyways, that's it for me.
All right. Any questions? What I'll do, I'll point at you, you repeat it, or you ask it, then we'll probably repeat it based on who is
Shoot you with a laser.
going to. So don't be shy. Don't be shy. Don't forget the peanut gallery there. Oh, there, right there. Gentleman right there. Yeah, you.
You were talking earlier about how maybe there's a lack of sort of Mexican satirists here in the States. Do you see any sort of maybe up-and-coming people that you guys follow on Twitter, or maybe you've seen their perhaps?
Up-and-coming Latino satirist. One of the people that really, one of the movements, they're not necessarily satirists, but they're incredibly creative, has been the Dreamers. I mean, no one was paying attention to them in the mainstream media, even mainstream Latino organizations. They were sort of like los olvidados, just like forgotten children. So they said, screw this, we're going to start it on our own. My former producer of my KPFK show, and Lalo's friend, Julio Salgado, he did this whole comic strip about this undocumented young lady, and I can't remember, what was the name of it? Libertad, I think, was her name, but it was a whole comic strip. And so I've been, his work has been appearing at the OC Weekly, and he gained a national audience and following. So Julio Salgado, you can find his stuff on Facebook.
And their actions are really clever and really, in your face, and kind of, they risk everything. That's why I was in two mechas, and I thought we were like pretty badass back then. The Dreamers put everything on the line. I mean, they really put their lives on the line. They get arrested. They do, crazy, sit-ins. They'll go up to elected officials. I mean, it's really great to see. It gives me hope for our, young people.
For this country, yeah. I mean, just amazing people, and they've created their own journalism, and they're also funny. I mean, of course, it's a very serious matter, but those folks, they're able to laugh at themselves. They're able to find humor. Again, going back to what Lalo said, that the great tendency of Mexican humor is to find the comedy in the most darkest of situations. They live their lives here basically invisible, and they've made themselves visible, and they're able to have a great time while they're doing it. So good question. Good question. Other questions?
You probably get asked this a lot, but I'm going to put a little twist on it. You probably get asked a lot, what's the biggest misconception Americans have about Mexicans? But I'd like to know, what's the biggest misconception Mexican Americans have about Mexico?
What's the biggest misconception Mexican Americans have about Mexico? Probably that they could go in there and they'll be loved by all the Mexicans there. We all have our stories, or if not us, friends. And going back to the rancho where your mom's from, or your dad's from, and of course, if you don't speak Spanish, then you can't communicate with anyone there. And by virtue of you being from the United States, you're already a gringo, and they'll ruthlessly make fun of you. And that's one thing I think about Mexican humor. Also, yeah, you do have the satirist vein, but you also, I mean, how would you say? I don't know how you say it in Spanish, but we have a great tendency to kid, to just kid the hell out of you. So they're not doing it to necessarily hate you. They're just messing with you. We say it here, they're busting your balls. That's essentially what they do. But then you have these Mexican Americans coming back to the United States, traumatized. Oh my God, Mexico, they even hate me, and I'm a Mexican too, and blah, 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 blah. And I think you come with that American superiority complex, even though you might think, I'm not Mexican, or I'm not American, I'm a Mexican.
What he said.
Sure, what I said. So I think that's probably the one conception. And also, frankly, what's going on right now with the narco wars, that's another one as well, just that all of Mexico is just inherently violent. And yeah, there's some parts, I wouldn't go there right now. But Mexico City, it's fine. Tijuana, it's safer than it's ever been, ever.
Tijuana's boring now. I mean, I used to go every weekend. I mean, I grew up there back and forth, but in college, I mean, I don't know how I graduated from college. I go to Tijuana every weekend, partying and going to discos and stuff, and it's like, it's dead now, it's boring.
And those discos discotecas are dead, but what's happened instead, Tijuana has this, probably one of the world's best food scenes right now. So what you're having are a bunch of Mexicans, but also Americans going down there and having like a 10-course meal with wine on this private estate in the Valle de Guadalupe for $50. And amazing, amazing food. But, you know, for the OC Weekly, for our food blog, we have a weekly column called Tijuana C, you know, named after the band Tijuana No, where all we do is review all these great American, Mexican restaurants in Baja California. And we get complaints all the time from Mexican Americans. Oh, why are you sending people to their murder? They're gonna be beheaded. They're gonna be, boiled into pozole. So again, going back to what I said earlier, you could take the most, you could have the most inassimilable Mexican you think exists within a generation. He'll be mostly American. His children will be completely American, and their grandchildren will have names like Trudy and Jack and God knows what else. Justin, yeah. Now Justino's a name though.
My daughter complains about Spanish class. I almost fell over. She's like, "Oh, it's so hard." I wanted to shoot myself. Oh my God.
That's so funny. Other questions?
Come on. Yes.
Yeah, my question is, because since you guys kind of do like a weekly thing, like the column, and also with the cartoon, and you also do like the radio and the book, and coming to talk, like how do you continue to do this for so long? I mean, like what you do is funny, but it's also very depressing.
It's antidepressant to me. That's
Same
why.
here. I mean, with my column and also just with my newspaper reporting, yeah, you deal with some pretty serious issues. The Obama administration has deported more people than any previous administration, probably since, gosh, the 1930s, when FDR, another Democrat, was rounding everyone up and sending them halfway through Mexico in trains. But my lot in life is to always report on injustice and to always fight what I see to be bigotry, or the saying that we have at the Weekly is, we comfort the afflicted and we afflict the comfortable. That's what we do. That's what I do. That's what drives me. It's hard. Doesn't pay much, but who cares? I'm committed to doing that. So all this depressing stuff, you fight through it because you know that what you're doing is right, and nothing's going to stop you from that. That's the way I take it.
Wow, what he said.
You got to answer the call. But yeah, I mean, that's what we do. Yeah, I mean, and especially the hate letters. Like actually yesterday, I got this Facebook comment from some guy who just went off on me. And when I see him, I laugh. And my girlfriend, she happened to say like, "Oh, I want to see this," and she was nearly in tears. She's like, "That guy's so mean to you. Let me say something at him." I'm like, honey, I get like 10 of these a day. This is nothing. Like, at least he's not posting our home address like other people do. At least they're not, calling in death threats. I don't think you've ever gotten this. Somebody once actually sent, not to me, but to a paper in Eugene, Oregon, they sent them a whole bag of horse manure. And I wish I had it because I needed some compost. But yeah, that was by far the best hate letter I ever got. Absolutely.
Can I get it back? I am 1,000% agreement. This is why, I do what I do. I think of my parents, and I think of all the Mexicanos, I think of all the immigrants of all stripes, how they should not have to suffer or deal with it. My daughter's like, my wife is morena, and my daughter's dark skin, and I just don't want some idiot to feel you know, deputize like these people in Arizona, or like how Prop 187 would, in California, would deputize racists to go up to Mexicans and give them shit. You know, I just will not have that go on for another generation. It'll happen, but I mean, I do it for that selfish reason. I do it, you know, for everybody. And then also, when I write jokes though, I write them to amuse myself. So I just worry, am I cracking myself up? Because I just love laughing at my own shit.
Yeah, ultimately.
I just think I am just so funny. Unless I'm not being funny, and then I like, you know, try to be funnier. But, you know, I do it to amuse myself, keep myself sane, and that's the best payment, you know.
Two more questions. All the way. Gentlemen, all the way in the back.
All right. Where can we purchase your books at?
The foyer.
Right outside.
Yeah. Right after that, we're going to do our spiel, and then we'll be signing books and talking to you folks as long as this wonderful college will
I've got
have
posters too.
posters and calendars and all sorts of things. Another question right there.
About 100 years ago, like in Paris, we were burning hats, you know, so we thought that was, you know, it was okay. So today you have, you know, you see like, you're seeing a paradigm shift where people think, you know, the morals are changing, you know, they're evolving. This goes with the gay thing, you know, being all inclusive. You see a paradigm shift happening with the younger generation, you know, how inclusive they're being, because how they feel about gay people,
It's
no
changed,
idea what
yeah.
the older people feel, you know.
Yeah.
Are right. So you're seeing this kind of like this evolution of morals, really, and we're having I think, a paradigm shift eventually.
I agree. It's, you know, it's you know, we're gonna go forward and not go backward. And also today in my class, I teach at Otis College of Art on the West Side, and I teach editorial illustration class, and we just crack each other up with the cartoons the cartoons that they do. It's funny because they're college students, and they are like not politically correct. They'll do like, we did one on obesity, and they went to town on these cartoons, and they were like, and there's some other ones about, you know, they drew Obama with breasts feeding, you know, like the Moocher. There was a cartoon about Mitt Romney's statement or whatever, and I'm just shaking my head going like, God damn, I would not draw this ever. But these kids are like, they're like, it's cool, and they're not being judgmental or nasty or whatever. They're just like kind of fresh on the world, and I think, yeah, we are already almost there, or these kids are growing up in that kind of world, hopefully.
Yeah, well, we have in Southern California especially, we have a whole, already now 2 or 3 generations of people who have grown up alongside Mexicans and Mexican Americans, and more importantly though, we already conquered their stomachs. Americans love Mexican food. The breakfast burrito is not even Mexican anymore. I know more Americans who eat breakfast burritos than I know Mexicans. You know, those big, humongous things. Taco Bell's a multi-million-dollar industry, and while it might seem a little bit trivial to say, hey, they are food, like eventually they're going to like us, but it is a very big point. One of the universal ways to denigrate and malign a people is to ridicule their food and what they eat. This is something that goes back for centuries. And you think about the classic derogatory term for Mexicans. They're all based on food. Greaser, beaner, chili belly, my favorite taco bender. You don't hear that one anymore. Although there's a restaurant in San Bernardino called the Taco Bender.
Well, we have machines for that.
Now we have that. It's all automated. And it's not a point that I'm making. It's not a point that I invented. The godfather of Chicano studies, basically, Americo Paredes, he made that exact point, saying about how, especially in Texas and the American Southwest, that was always the most popular stereotype is via food. People malign you for what you eat, but if you have the so-called colonizer eating the food that you're making, they're eventually warming up to your culture. It might take a long time, especially given our tortured relationship with Mexico, but I'm an optimist. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I am an optimist because, again, I've seen what has happened, not just with my circle of friends, but also just in my community and just also in the Southwest United States and just the rest of the United States. It's going to happen. It might not be as fast as we want it to, but eventually it'll happen. We'll be one nation under tacos, indivisible, with Lalo and justice for all. So there you go. That's the ending. Thank you so much.